progressively senior positions with the TDSB, including principal, families of schools, superintendent, system and executive superintendent. In addition, she has worked at the Ministry of Education and has contributed as a presenter and speaker at international forums. Please put your hand together for Ms. Donna Quan.
Thank you. Good morning, parents and children and youth who are here. You're probably looking on the screen and saying, am I at the right place? Right? Because before you is a slide that talks about the 9th annual conference where parent involvement makes a difference and unlocking your child's potential. You're in the right place and I'm in the right place. And the reason this slide is on here is this morning I had the opportunity to speak at Earl Hague about unlocking your child's full potential. And when we heard Catherine speak this morning, she talked about the value and the importance of parental involvement. As a mom of 3 kids where I've led a very busy career, I know that family involvement extends beyond parents. The involvement of our grandparents, our cousins, our extended family is critical. So what I want to do here in the next half hour at the most is to share with you some of the things that really bring out the talent and the skill and then unlocking that potential in the children we all have and love. There's not one parent or grandparent that I've ever met who does not love their child and feel that that child has the very best potential to succeed. And that is the first step, is to believe that your kid, no matter what they have done for the day that may annoy you or give you joy, has a reason for doing so, and that they can and will succeed. And we in the Toronto District School Board, I have the privilege to lead a system where we have about 246,000 kindergarten to grade 12 students. And I have a chance to see probably twice a week into classrooms or into schools that I visit or attend graduations. And wherever I go, a parent believes their kid is the best kid. Our school system has to believe the same, that every child walking through our doors, in kindergarten, we welcome 17,500 new JK kids approximately a year, so we have 35,000 4- and 5-year-olds in our system. The foundation of early years is critical to unlocking potential. But how do you unlock potential and how do you find the hidden talents and the gifts? Every child has a gift. And it takes very little to make a child smile. Very little to put a smile on the face of children and youth. And it's about relationships and parental involvement. I would like to extend beyond parents as family and extended family. I grew up in a home where my grandparents raised me because my parents had to have 3 jobs to put me through school, or my 3 brothers and 3 sisters. And there was a situation in my own life where I was an ESL learner and my parents could not help me with my homework, and we lived in poverty, and all the other kids around me had opportunity, at least I thought. But with that success that I have experienced comes a bank of people behind me. So I really encourage the children to value. How many kids are in here? Can you just raise your hand? How many times do you talk to your grandparents?
Because it doesn't want it to, it wants it to be cool and quiet.
1, 2, 3 times a day, a week?
So right now it was down at 2,000.
I'm going to give you some homework. Try to do so at least once a week to really have some good conversation with your grandma or your grandpa or your extended family and aunt or uncle, because they play a key role in your success. Your parents play a key role, but family is an extended family in order for us to all succeed. So let me just move through this quickly. So, how do you find the hidden talents of children? All children are born with potential. All babies can, at a very early age, neurologically assess the situation. When a baby is very quiet, we often think it's a great kid. Baby's not calm, not crying, it's not colicky, it's not fussy. But that's a signal, because the research indicates that the mental health and well-being of the child can be assessed right from the day it's born. It doesn't mean it's a great baby. Maybe parents get some sleep from it, but it also means that there's a sense of detachment. So knowing very early, if your little one, your newborn, is connecting with you, is the first step to knowing, unlocking the potential, and really raising the talents and drawing out the talents from a very early age. So the early years is critical to understanding success. As they get into these schools, as you know, you're all parents, when they get into 3 or 4 year olds, they have an ability to assess an environment, and you know if they like something or not, or if they're happy in an environment. So let me move through this. In our system, we have 250,000 learners approximately. Of those 250,000 learners, every single kid in my system is a Generation Z kid. So those parents who are born from 1981 to 1995, maybe there are some in here, you're Generation Y. Those who are from 1961, 1980, Generation X, and then you have the baby boomers. And then you have those who are pre-1945, the grandpa and grandmas, and maybe the aunts and uncles who are maturists who are born pre-1945, and we do have some of those. So why is this slide important? Because in order to unlock and to find and nurture the talents of every child, you need to know the world they're living in. And the world they're living in is far different from the world I lived in, and my children are living in now. I'm a mom of 3 kids, and my kids, I have one that's Generation Z and 2 Generation Y. So if you look at the blue bar, what's important in terms of aspiration? We live in a world where there's greater insecurity and instability. The children today are very well educated. We have the most educated population in North America and in Canada. But their ability to be employed in the job that they want or that they train for is decreasing. So security and stability is on their mind. And with security and stability, we go to their world. The research indicates mental health and stress is increasing amongst our youngsters. So I have a school system where 1 in 5 students or more are experiencing anxiety, high anxiety. We live in a very fast-paced world that is instantaneous. So with the STEM education, we have a STEM strategy. We want that to happen, but we also have to know when to slow down and really value the face-to-face relationship. So what does your youngster value? FaceTime. You can see down there in terms of the communication preference. How many still have a home phone in here? Not your cell phone, but a home phone. Well, I see 5 hands. And those 5 people or 10 people, do you ever answer your phone? Or is it just there for emergencies, right? I have a home phone, but I never answer it because people call my cell phone. And my kids never call my cell phone, they text me. And my little ones my nephews only FaceTime because that's their world, right? So we have to go to their world in order to draw the talents. And the other thing I want to say is that the kids today are far more borderless. What do I mean by that, and why is that important? To draw out their talents, we live in a world where, in the TDSB, we conduct a census. We know what the 2% of our populations are from a Latino background, South America and whatnot. So we have a census breakdown, but from that, 12% of our students are of Black descent, 17% are of East Asian, 23% are South Asian, and then there's the 29% about white, and then there's a population that is the fastest growing demographics, and that's the mixed population. More and more students, there's been an increase from 5 to 9% in the last census of mixed population demographics because our children are borderless. The relationships our kids have are not the relationships that we grew up with, right? So they're far more mixed in their thinking and far more borderless. So why is that important? As we move forward to draw out the talents of our kids and really look at the gifts that they have, what are the competencies? You heard Catherine talk about the competencies for the 21st century. We can talk about leadership, digital literacy, and the tools they live in, and the ability to download apps and make life easier. You don't need to have a, what do you call those things in the car which tells you where to go or set it in, because you can just look at your iPhone and Google it, and it's talking to you on where to turn left or right. So that digital and artificial intelligence is what our children's lives are about. The communication, but the most important skill I would ask you to look at to draw talent from children that I have seen as an educator is the ability to strengthen emotional intelligence. The ability to help our youngsters read faces, not print, read environments, to read this room, to see if I have your attention, to read this room, to see who's interacting with who. That's part of emotional intelligence. And also, if there's a situation where there's a crisis, how do they respond? Emotional intelligence is also about resiliency. How do they bounce back? Do they have a breakdown? Do they go into a corner and say, I can't manage this, or start crying? Or do they think, okay, I have a problem. What are the 3 steps I must do to help me get out of this problem? That's part of the emotional intelligence. And how do I get other people to help me as well? The other skill I want to really focus on is number 5, entrepreneurship. Employment today in drawing the talents of our kids and the gifts they have is really about teaching them to be independent, to really, I'm going to say to you, the research indicates that children of tomorrow will move through 5 to 7 jobs. If you go back to that last slide, job security for baby boomers, they stay in their jobs forever. I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm not one of those Generation Z people, right? But the kids of tomorrow, I have 3 girls, and 2 of them are teachers, and I know they won't be staying and teaching. They're already moving away and going into thinking of other jobs. Not because they don't love teaching, but their thinking is that they're more mobile. So the children of tomorrow must have entrepreneurship competencies, the ability to think of self-employment and to create their own economic security. Global citizenship, I talked about kids being more borderless. They're not borderless because they're flying off to a different country. They're more borderless because of the internet and FaceTime and the digital tools have allowed them to interface with anybody in the world at any time. So global citizenship and understanding the world through the lens of others is critical. There's a lot of print on here, but I want to highlight some of the new emerging literacies that are different from the last. So we talked here about the 3 R's. I really do want to emphasize the greatest gift you can give your child is the love of reading. No matter if a child is born at 3 days old, they can read the room. They can read too. Reading is just not reading in text form. It's the ability to read an environment. So how do we teach them to do that? But I'm going to say to you is that the research indicates in terms of reading, if a child is at grade reading by grade 3 and grade 6, that is the greatest predictor of long-term success. So do work on the reading and the emotional intelligence piece. But if you look at what the emerging literacies are as we move ahead, you can see the social literacies, the network literacies, and the cultural literacies. I want to, it's not everybody, our kids are more computer literate than ever. They can run around circles, and I probably can hire all of them to manage our IT department and do better. Okay? Because they know how to connect things, and they know what to do in terms of the app and fix things that we may have challenges on. But when you talk about social literacy, one of the things I see as a parent, also as a daughter of immigrants, and I see a lot of extended families that we sponsor from mainland China come over, is confidence.
The program we've been using is very
confidence in a social setting.
It's like really resource intensive.
I have a challenge right now with my Asian population of Chinese descent in our system. The highest achieving students in our system right now are Asian students in terms of reading and writing. But they have also one of the highest I would say, lack of confidence in seeing themselves as leaders. The ability to go and interact with a group of people. So how do we teach our youngsters and you as parents to get them to walk into a room and have presence? So that when they arrive, I work with my schools to say when they arrive into a room, they're not slouching and walking in like this. They're walking in with pride. Even posture matters when you present. So we teach our youngsters when they come into a room, take the time to look at somebody and take the time to shake their hand and introduce yourself. That's a skill in itself, and that's social literacy. And that leads to the network literacy in terms of networking and getting people. So when you unlock potential and seeing the gifts in people, sometimes it's not about money. It's attitude, and it's poise, and it's the ability to be confident. So we need that praise. And I say to my little nephews, I have the good fortune of having my nephews. Maybe it's not a good fortune. They're 2 boys and I have 3 girls, but they're different. You know, and they come and they're 7 and 8 years old. And so when Michael and Ryan come over and I introduce them to somebody, you know, I say, Michael, sit up. And when you walk into a room, be proud of who you are and put your tools down. So that social literacy is important as part of unlocking potential. So when you unlock that potential, that kid is making a human connection with another human being. And that helps them in terms of networking and social literacy. I want to share just very briefly some of the challenges. We still have worldwide, not just in Toronto District School Board, a problem with numeracy. Our mathematics results in Ontario and as a nation could be better. So what is it about mathematics that we need to work on?
So you didn't know
we also have an increase in graduation rates.
I think he knew.
But the challenge with that is, to me, I don't care if I have 100% of kids graduating. What I care about is, are they productive? Because when they leave, they have a piece of paper, but do they have employability skills? Do they have ability to be a self-employed individual or to be curious to make a living and make a life for themselves? Because higher graduation rates are important, but they also have to have the confidence to be a productive citizen and to engage in life that matters to them. So I also want to say that I know that you are focusing on, you know, our post-secondary and making sure that everybody graduates. You want that. But if you can get your child, and the greater predictor of success is reading and some of the emotional literacies, is every child who graduates at least gets into a college or university education, regardless of what career path, they have a much higher chance of being employed. So 80% of graduates have a job compared with less than 60% of people who haven't completed secondary education. That's critical, that many of our youngsters must at least get to that grade 12 and on to some post-secondary education opportunity. I know that as parents, you know, I came from an environment where my dad said, he would take us out onto the street and he said, see that building over there? That we were in real estate, he would say, you know, that building over there is like education. You invest in your education, it will grow in value. There are 2 things you invest in, real estate and education. But it's not just the high academics at university, right? So we have in the TDSB skills trades, you know, carpentry, horticulture, geophysics. There are things that you can invest in electricians that are just as valued, and we are pushing for a society that is more intellectually inclined. I just came back from a 10-day trip in Taiwan at the invitation of the Ministry of Education in Taiwan to talk about how we can get more inclusive schools and more harmonized programming for the schools over there. And they have one of the highest per capita rates of universities, 170 or something. A huge amount for that little country, little island. But they are now starting to look at skills trade because you can have a highly educated population, but where's the employment opportunity? Everybody might have doctorates,
And an SD card.
Or are they employed and being productive? So please, parents, take a look at
got
opportunities
the same
such
as
as the
that,
skills
except it's got
trades as well for your child,
2.0,
to
the
unlock
Thunderbolt
their
version.
potential,
It's like 20
because
gigabits per
sometimes,
second.
you know, that hands-on work
Thunderbolt is like
brings a lot of personal
it's really good.
gratification.
It's
So every
20
youngster
gigabits per
has
second, so it's like 3 or
different
4 times
competencies
faster
and
than
skills
data.
and desires that may be different from ours. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
okay
it's really fast.
as well.
That's what I use to connect my internet right now.
Entrepreneur education. I'm going to ask you just to take a moment to take a look at this slide here. So it says hundreds of millions of new jobs will be needed in the next quarter of a century. And that means many more entrepreneurs will need to create many new companies. Every child and human being has the talent to create their own destiny.
Okay.
Our job is to give them the confidence and the skills to do so. The network literacy, the social literacies, the emotional literacies, and of course the intellectual capacity to do so. Doesn't matter where you come from, you have the ability to succeed. The other thing I want to say is that the world today as we know it, where there's an employer-employee relationship, that's going to drastically change. We will not, because it changes because of the global interactions, but also because of digital, and everything is becoming more artificial intelligence. So the jobs that we know today existing won't be there in 10, 15, 20 years. So you've got to draw our talents to give our kids to say, you know, how do you manage financial literacy? What's your business plan? These are the things that we should be working with our youngsters on. You know, what's your personal business plan? So I often say to our kids, you might want 3 objects. Many of them want 3, you know, iPhones or iPhone 6 or whatever it is that they want, right, or an iPad. No, those are material things. And I use that example with them to say, that's okay to have those material things, but you can't have them all at the same time. You have X amount of dollars, so it's not to say you can't have it. What's your business plan to get it at different times? So nobody can say that you can't have 2 jobs and 2 careers. Sometimes you just can't have it at the same time. So what are your milestone goals that you're going to set to get you there, right? So I think that one thing I would really emphasize in drawing talent and seeing the gifts our youngsters bring, even cutting the lawn, I'm going to tell you, or doing something in recycling at home, turn it into a business opportunity for them and get them thinking about, well, if you were to do 2 of those, you know, lemonade stands, what business plan do you need, or what kind of thinking about saving money? Because one of the things that our kids ahead of us is that security. We live in a more unstable world, so helping them understand that sometimes being frugal is the best gift in life, right? You don't need every new object every time. Student voice, this is just from the Ontario Ministry of Education. At the end of the day, this is Ethan from Rose Avenue Public School, a student. I think that no matter what we do, every child can lead the pack. So I encourage parents to really look at the emotional intelligence, the entrepreneurial skills, the social literacies. We often talk about digital literacies and computers and giving our kids all the gadgets. But with that, we have raised a generation of kids who are hunched over, who have greater carpal tunnel syndrome, who are less interactive with human beings, and who are obese, who have health issues. Our diabetes rate has increased dramatically. We created that, parents. So sometimes self-regulating and saying, I'm not going to get you that, but I now don't give gifts to my nephews. They don't like me for that. But I give them an experience. So I often say, now they know, you know, Auntie Donna, when are we going to have our experience together? So my little nephew's birthday, I took him downtown and we rode the subway. We spent the time from Finch Avenue all the way downtown and taught him how to use the subway and to read the subway, the green and the red lines. And he hasn't forgotten. He's proud of that. So my other little nephew, Ryan, says, when do I get my experience?
Yep.
right? So I think that you can unlock potential and give kids a lot of things without a lot of money, without a lot of gadgets, and to really go to their place, that they're Generation Z kids who are embracing and absorbing everything. And what we give them to absorb is our
I'm just going to leave it.
Power.
Just keep it.
We have the power to shape their destiny. So with that, I'm really pleased to be the director of the Toronto District School Board and to attend your SEN conference. I know Estella and others have put a lot of effort into this each year. And I think that please continue to have these conferences and to network. And thank you very much.
He got the French flag.
Thank you very much, Donna. Just a little background on Donna. You probably saw in her slides that this was for a Parent Development Day at Earl Haig Secondary School, which is going on today as well. And I just want to thank you for doing both of these on the same day. It's a Saturday, and I've seen you at so many events on a Saturday doing great things for our community. And you really care, and it's great to have somebody like you in charge of our school board. Well, thank you for coming here today. We are just going to do a quick moment of silence here for the people in Paris. And it's a terrible thing that's happened there. And our YouTube live people are actually making up a slide right now that's going into the YouTube stream that's quite powerful. And I want to show you a little bit what it is, and then Manuela's going to say some things in Spanish before we have a moment of silence. If you go, a lot of people don't know what a hashtag is. What I just did on the screen was I logged into Twitter. And Twitter is the ultimate common hailing frequency. When something bad happens, good people come together. It's absolutely a phenomenal concept. And last night, because that's what I do for a living, I started seeing this hashtag. It's a number sign, porte ouverte. En français, je parle français. I wish I speak Spanish. In French, it means the doors are open. And what this was if you see the guy at the top, Jeremy Loops, he's just a regular guy. And everybody was using the hashtag porte ouverte for people in France that couldn't get home because the transportation systems were down or something like that. And it meant you can come and stay at my house. And so the overlay into the YouTube video is a big hashtag with Paris that says porte ouverte. And when you click on porte ouverte, you can see absolutely everything that people are saying and pictures about what it's like there. And this is one of the best pictures that I've seen out there yet. It's about people rallying together saying they're not afraid and that the good will overcome the evil. And I think we're so lucky today to be able to be at such a wonderful facility here in a peaceful country in Canada. And we're all from different backgrounds, predominantly from the Spanish community, but we're very welcoming and open to anybody. Anybody that wants to come into our events, they're allowed to come in. It's about inclusion, and it's about safety, and it's about the success of everybody. So Manuela's going to say some things in Spanish here, and then we're going to have a moment of silence to remember the people of Paris.
Thank you, Scott. Bueno, como dijo Scott, realmente tenemos mucha suerte de estar en este país, con tan seguros comparado a todo lo que está sucediendo en París. Para todas las personas que no tienen mucho conocimiento de Twitter, que hoy en día es una de las formas más grandes de comunicar a todas las personas todo lo que sucede. Yo sé que la policía de Toronto, por ejemplo, lo utiliza mucho para encontrar a algunas personas que están desaparecidas o pasar información que está sucediendo en el último minuto. Entonces, personas que se encontraban allá y no tenían a dónde ir, entonces las personas podían irse a las casas de la gente que estaba alrededor para que no estén solos en este momento tan triste. Realmente vamos ahora a darles un momento de silencio para unirnos a ellos, porque tanto como París, eso pudiera suceder en cualquier parte del mundo, y nosotros tenemos mucha suerte de hoy no solo tener a grandes personas que nos están educando y enseñando, pero también de estar juntos a nuestros familiares, tanto como amigos, y compartir en este momento.
If we could all just stand and have 1 minute of silence in memory of the people in Paris and all people that are victims of violence around the world.
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you very much. We are going to, we've got a little announcement here from Estela, our fearless leader for Spanish Speaking Education Network.
Padres, muy buenas tardes. Es un placer estar acá viendo esa motivación que ustedes trajeron hoy para básicamente apoyar a nuestros chicos a que salgan adelante, y sé que de esta manera muchos vamos a cambiar el camino a mirar más altos que las estrellas. En esa nota yo sé que la situación económica también ayuda, y para eso vamos a presentar a nuestro compañero Joe March de Smart Saver, y él básicamente lo que viene a anunciar es un bono educativo que todos los padres tienen acceso a, padres de aquellos niños que nacieron en el 2004 en adelante. Estos niños, si usted tiene un social insurance de usted y su niño, o pueden pasar la voz a muchas más comunidades, ellos pueden abrir una cuenta bancaria inmediatamente acá afuera en el lobby. Si el niño califica, y ustedes no solo vinieron al Ontario Science Center al 7º Congreso de Educación, pero vinieron a llevarse $500, una cuenta abierta para sus niños, un bono de $100 por año hasta que tienen los niños 17 años. 17 años. Entonces, en esa nota, para explicarles un poquito más profundo, tenemos acá a George March, que viene de Smart Saver. Yo he trabajado con ellos en muchas escuelas por Rockcliffe y toda esa área de ahí, y hemos inscrito muchos niños que tienen están ahorrando para tener ese pago inicial cuando van a la universidad, que usualmente muchos no pueden ir a la universidad porque no tienen esos $2,000. Nosotros con la ayuda de ellos van a tener esa oportunidad. Joe, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Estela, and good morning, everyone. And thank you to the Spanish Speaking Education Network for inviting us this morning, and thank you all for coming. It's been many years since I studied Spanish, and I did study Spanish, but I'm not certain exactly what Estela has told you this morning. But, so forgive me for that, and Mr. Creme, my Spanish teacher, grade 9 and grade 10, will forgive me as well. It was a long time ago. My name is Joe March. I'm with an organization called smartsaver.org. We're dedicated to connecting families to the Canada Learning Bond. Estela may have already told you about the Canada Learning Bond. One of the most important things about the bond, aside from the fact that it is in fact a grant that's available at no cost to the applicant family, it's a grant that can maximize education savings, $500 initial grant that is then followed by $100 a year for every year that a family is eligible. Any family that has received the National Child Tax Benefit is eligible for the bond. Children born since 2004. Outside, my colleague Rose and I have set up computers, and we're happy to help people apply for the bond. However, many of you may already have done so. Typically, when you open a Registered Education Savings Plan, an RESP, your provider will, in fact, apply for you for the Canada Learning Bond. If you have an RESP and you're not sure if you have the Canada Learning Bond, then I urge you to ask your supplier, your provider, whether or not you have, in fact, applied. All that is necessary to apply for the Canada Learning Bond is a social insurance number for yourself and a social insurance number for the child on whose behalf you're applying. Outside, we are able to open Registered Education Savings Plans. These are special plans. They have no fee, and they require no contribution. We work with the bank, Scotiabank, RBC, BMO, the TD and Meridian credit unions. They've all guaranteed us that they will open a no-cost RESP that requires no contribution. However, should you choose to at some point make contributions into that RESP, it's entirely up to you, and you can do it at your own speed. Anyone can open an RESP on behalf of a child, a grandparent, an uncle, an aunt, a friend of the family, even a public caregiver can open an RESP on behalf of a child and apply for the Canada Learning Bond. The only other thing that I can think of right now that's important to know about RESPs and about education savings is how much they help children become motivated in school. Research shows that as little as $500 in an education savings plan that's in the name of a child will make that child feel more motivated, will change the conversation at home from not, will I study something after high school, but what will I study after high school? Children with education savings are 4 times more likely to graduate from high school and enter some form of education savings. The thing about an RESP is it's very flexible. It's not something that, it doesn't have to only be used for university or for college. It can be used to fund trade school. It can be used to provide additional funds for equipment, books, room and board, transportation, while a student is attending some form of education or training after high school. And an RESP can be open for 36 years. So a child doesn't necessarily have to decide immediately on graduating high school what exactly he or she wants to do. So with that, I'll thank you for your attention, and please, by all means, come see me. If you don't have an RESP, we can help you open one. If you have questions, we're happy to try to either answer your question or connect you with a resource that can do that for you. And so with that, again, thanks again for your kind attention, and enjoy the day.
Before you go, I think we're going to open the floor for anyone who has any questions. Si alguien tiene alguna pregunta en este momento que desearía hacerlo, pueden hacerlo. Para también la señora Donna, Quan, cualquier pregunta que desean hacer. ¿Alguien tiene alguna pregunta?
También como padre, as a parent, I have many questions, and this really, sometimes I wake up at night and, I don't know how I'm going to afford guiding my kids, especially the financial situation sometimes can stop you. So, one question, on average, how much costs a year of college, or, I know different careers vary, but that will give us a number.
So it's a marathon, not a sprint. First of all, my 18-year-old, we opened our RESP for her when she was born, and we opened an RESP very much like the ones that I was just talking about. The RESP that we opened required
on our clear comms, you press the signal button, it makes this really annoying scratching sound.
We made them when we could. We made them sometimes
Yeah.
gifts from
Yeah,
grandparents, gifts from friends, when we had a tax refund that wasn't already spent. So she's now in university. She's at the University of Prince Edward Island. I'm not exactly, I can explain why, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway, it's far away. And it's much more expensive as a result, because not only does she have to pay tuition and books, but she has to pay room and board costs there as well. So in that situation, yes, right now it could cost $70,000 for a 4-year degree. Having said that, the cost of an apprenticeship in Ontario is $2,000. And you could apprentice to be an electrician or plumber. You could take a course to learn how to operate heavy equipment. Those 3 jobs, on average, pay $50 an hour. So they're $100,000 a year jobs. And the apprenticeship, as I say, the upfront cost is $2,000, and then an additional you work, to learn your trade. Hairdresser license and hairdresser school can be only a few $1,000s. College as opposed to university. I think the average tuition, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong here, the average tuition for university in Canada is around $4,000 a year for tuition. And for college, I believe it's about half of that. Having said that, it is possible to defray a great many of the costs that are associated by gradually, carefully, and persistently saving. The Canada Learning Bond, the organization that manages the Canada Learning Bond is the Human Resources and Skills Development Agency of the federal government. And they tell us that 97% of families who are eligible for the Canada Learning Bond, who get the Canada Learning Bond, find a way to save, on average, $16,000 over the life of their bond, in about 15 years. OSAP, right? Student loans are also available. Bursaries and other scholarships are available. Summer jobs. My daughter worked at a summer camp and netted $4,000 this past summer in 2 months. So, it is possible, but it does require planning. One of the things that we like to do is to help people to understand that, I know what my situation is right now. I don't know what my situation is going to be in 15 years. So that's why we encourage people, well, you might as well get started. Right? And so if you don't already have an RESP, as I say, we can help you open one that doesn't cost you anything until you're ready to put whatever money you want to put in, when you're ready to put it in. But yes, it is a marathon, not a sprint. Does that help? Yeah? Okay.
Just una pregunta por aquí. Ya la respondió. Is there any other questions? ¿Alguna otra pregunta que desearían hacer? Yeah.
I'm creative. Okay. If the kid chooses not to study, I think you spoke about that. What happens to the money? Can I add money to my kid's account? Obviously, you said that. If I lose my job, can I use the money? And can you have more than one RESP?
So a child can have multiple RESPs. So a child can have more than one RESP. There's only one Canada Learning Bond per child. The Learning Bond and any grant that is made to the child, whether it be a provincial grant or a federal grant, if the child ultimately decides not to study after high school, the grant money goes back to the government. That's their money. They're giving that to you to use for education purposes. If you make contributions into the RESP over the life of the RESP, that money is always yours. You always own that money. The RESP is a tax-sheltered account. So when you put your money into an RESP, whatever interest accrues to that amount, so whatever, if it grows by interest, that interest is not taxed. until you withdraw the money. When you withdraw the money is withdrawn in the name of the student. So the tax is much, much lower at the time that you take the money out. If the child ultimately decides not to go to school, the grant goes back to the government. The contributions that you've made, you can take them back. You will have to pay tax on any growth that's happened while it's been in the account. But again, it will be taxed on the child's income at that time, not on yours. So you can't use the money, the grant money, for anything but education. But the contributions that you make, if you absolutely have to, you can get them back out and you can use them for your own purposes. Yes, the question over there.
There's a video production unit. They go and do some live streaming.
You can withdraw the money out of an RESP, and it can go for purposes other than education. Remember that any grants will go back to the government. Your own money can be taken back out, and if you don't use it for education purposes, you know, you'll pay tax as I've described. You can then use that money any way you wish. Okay, but it's an RESP can stay open for 36 years, so that child has to be absolutely certain that they're not going on to university. It would be. I'm sorry, I know I don't have a lot of time, but if you'd like, you can come and see me at the table, because I talked about the Canada Learning Bond. The federal government also makes matching grants every time you make a contribution, and if you were to do as you described, you'd actually, it wouldn't make sense from a financial standpoint. Okay, but come see me up at the table outside.
Yeah, there's
question. We're just gonna have
video. I talked to him about it all the time.
We're live streaming
You can ask
everything
them
that's going
questions,
on.
right?
So
They've
we're
got
trying
like
to also have your voice. So I think we had a question.
yeah, they do a
out
bunch
there.
of stuff. They've got their whole truck that whatever they use to broadcast. Like they have he'll tell you the name of the system.
Lo voy a decir en español. Hay un programa que se llama Lifelong Learning Plan en inglés. Como mujer inmigrante que soy, yo quería continuar mis estudios aquí y a mí no me gusta prestar dinero, ni me gusta deber dinero. Yo pienso que eso es bastante difícil para muchas personas, especialmente para los inmigrantes que a veces tenemos trabajos que no pagan lo suficiente y a veces es muy difícil integrarse a esta sociedad como a veces quisiéramos. Fui a un banco de cooperativa, este se llama Alterna ahora, y les dije, bueno, soy una mujer inmigrante, quiero continuar mis estudios en la universidad, pero no quiero prestar dinero de los SAR. ¿Cómo puedo hacerlo? Entonces me dijo, tú tienes RSP, y fue una cosa que yo le agradezco a mi padre. Ahorrar dinero es muy importante. Cuando usted puede ahorrar sus centavos, aunque sea poquito, y le enseña a su hijo, puede tomar decisiones. Entonces me habló del Lifelong Learning Plan. Entonces me dijo, ¿tienes RSP? Y le dije, sí, cuando vine a este país empecé a ahorrar. Y me dijo, bueno, puedes prestar de ti mismo. Entonces, solo que averigüé en mi programa si podía pasar de part-time a full-time. Y fue en el último año cuando yo aproveché ese dinero que yo había ahorrado. Y en ese tiempo yo hice mi presupuesto del dinero que necesitaba, porque siempre trabajo y estudio. Y entonces pude utilizar ese dinero. Era mi dinero, no ganaba interés, pero no pagaba interés. Recientemente me enteré de que el banco sí permite utilizar ese dinero, solo que ahora, como la economía está muy difícil, el banco siempre está tratando de sacar provecho de todos nosotros, y si nos damos cuenta, muchos de de lo que hacemos en el banco, en las actividades, tenemos que pagar mucho más dinero. Entonces la diferencia ahora es de que si yo quiero utilizar mi RRSP, no sé exactamente cuál es la edad para que una persona pueda abrir una cuenta de RRSP, es que ahora le cobra el banco a uno $100 para poder utilizar su propio dinero. Yo sé que esto no aplica a todos, pero es una idea que muchos jóvenes no saben, incluso muchos canadienses no saben de esto. Gracias.
Thank you. If I understand, one of the questions was how long do you have to use the money from an RESP? Again, an RESP in Canada can be open for 36 years. So you have up to 36 years to use money from an RESP. You were describing a situation where it sounds as though there are some fees associated with the account that you have. There are dozens and dozens of RESP providers in Canada. They're all legitimate businesses. They all have different requirements and different ways of operating. One of the things that we did at Smart Saver was identify that there are some hurdles for people who are living on lower incomes. It makes it very difficult for them to save for education. It's why we entered into the relationships we have with the banks that I described. The RESPs that are available through Smart
he's just
Saver,
the
through
teacher.
RESPs
He doesn't know much. He's just the guy in charge.
people who are living
But I'm the guy in
on
charge
lower
this
income.
year, like student
They have
in charge.
no fee. Ever. There's never a fee associated with that account. And no contribution is ever required to be made into that account. It is an account that's been set up to accept the grant, the Canada Learning Bond grant. And if you can, and when you wish, you can make contributions. When it comes time to make withdrawals from that account,
I haven't heard of him.
there's no fee associated with making that withdrawal. There are rules that are associated with how you take money out of an RESP. But again, there are no charges associated with taking that money out. As I say, there are many different types of accounts with many different sorts of providers. I can't give a comment on very many of them. I only know about the RESPs that
How often do you work here?
we have available through our program. But as I say, you have 36 years from the opening of the RESP to use it, and provided you follow the rules that are associated with withdrawing the money from the RESP, there really shouldn't be penalties associated with that. So I don't know if I've answered completely your question, but again, I invite you to come see me at the table, and my friend Jorge can help me, and we can talk more about it if necessary. Okay?
Tenemos para una última pregunta.
Si mis dos hijos los escribo, ellos, por ejemplo, uno de ellos no quiere estudiar, puede ser transferido al hermano que quiere estudiar. Y el otro es si eso también puede usarse si mi hijo, por ejemplo, quiere estudiar en Estados Unidos, puede ser transferido para allá el pago o solamente es para Canadá.
Some RESPs are called family plans, and they allow you to switch money for siblings. The RESPs that I'm talking about that we can connect you to are individual plans. They're for that child only, so you can't switch the money back and forth. The grant money. If you've made any contributions into the RESP, you can always move those into
So how many theaters are in here?
RESP.
Like how many, like
your contributions, not the
there's
grant
this?
money.
But is there like other places that you work within?
Oh, yeah. Money in RESP can be used to study at university, at college, trade school, apprenticeships, a real estate license. It can be used to buy a computer for school, room and board, transportation. It can be used for full-time studies. It can be used for part-time studies, and it can be used to study outside of Canada. So the money in an RESP does not have to be used only in Canada. It can be used to fund study anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
And because we're a government Ontario facility, the firewalls here are just like negate it. Like this.
Let's put our hands together.
So we're going to break for lunch here, and you have some time because I understand the lunch is in half an hour. So I think on your tickets you have something about what time you eat lunch. The next time we're back in this room is 1 p.m. We're right on time for everything, so we have an hour right now. At 1 p.m., the older kids are welcome to go and watch a 50-minute, so just less than an hour, movie in the IMAX theater. And you get your tickets from Estella for that. So you have to be on time because it's not just our group that's watching the movie, it's open to everybody. So they'll start right at 1 o'clock. It's over at 1:50 p.m. At 2 p.m., there is a movie, the Mermaid movie. The first one is The Whales for the bigger kids. The Mermaid movie's for the little kids at 2 p.m. They're going to be taken from the childminding place over to the movie for 2 p.m. And it's really important that the older kids be back in this room for 2 p.m. because we've got a panel of youth that are going to sit at this table and they're going to discuss how they have become successful. And we really want the older kids that are here to listen to that, and that's going to be moderated by Victor Garcia. We're switching a little bit just to accommodate the movies. I'm going to do my little thing after the panel, and then the final speaker will be Jill, the policy analyst from Fisheries and Oceans, and then we'll call it a day. So you've got an hour. If you're not eating in the next hour and you've got some free time, I really recommend that you go to the Smart Saver booth out here and you can sign up for some of the things that were just discussed. So you can take a half an hour to eat and a half an hour to sign up for Smart Saver and at least get connected with them, because I think it's really, really important. And there's not a lot of information out there like this that's readily available, so this is a really good opportunity for everybody. So everything I just said, Emanuel is going to say in Spanish if you want to stick around for it.
Bueno, lo voy a hacer corto porque creo que todos tienen hambre. Ahorita nos vamos a ir en el tiempo de lunch. Antes, unos 10 minutos antes de la 1 de la tarde, los chicos que tienen los tickets para la película de los Whales a la 1 de la tarde tienen que irse a la parte donde que está el Child Mining. Ahí se van a encontrar y se van a ir juntos a ver la película. Los padres van a regresar a este cuarto donde va a haber un taller con otra persona y de ahí van a regresar los jóvenes para ver lo que sería el panel de los jóvenes. Así que disfruten y muchas gracias por venir.